It was just one of those stupid internet things, you know? Like an urban legend or creepypasta ritual or something. Except this one had some merit to it. There was an actual study, a scientific explanation, some genuine evidence behind it. It wasn't some supernatural phenomena. It was your brain, your very own wonderful mind, just fucking with you. I think that's the part that intrigued me the most. The chance to experience something truly disturbing, all while knowing that it was merely a visual illusion. For those of you who have never heard of the illusion, it's pretty simple. All you need is a dimly lit room, a chair, and a mirror. The chair should be placed 15 inches from the mirror, and light, preferably a dim lamp with a bulb no stronger than 25 watts, which should be behind the chair. All you have to do is sit down, stare at your own reflected face, and within a minute or so, you should start noticing the bizarre face illusion. According to the study, there's a whole mixed bag of freaky shit you can expect to see. Deformations in your own face, your parents' faces with changed traits, an unknown person's face, animal faces, even monstrous demonic things. At the time, I wasn't sure what I saw, but it fucked me up good. It took me a while before I realized anything that had happened at all. I guess maybe the changes were so gradual, so vague, that my eyes couldn't quite catch what was going on. But when I did notice, in that indescribable moment of horror, I instinctively kicked the mirror, fell back in my chair, and knocked over the lamp. The mirror fell on top of me, the lamp broke, and I was flailing on the floor, screaming hysterically. It took me hours to calm down, but I couldn't fathom why. I didn't even remember what I saw. My reflected face had been all shadowy and blurry, only vaguely familiar, kind of like a fuzzy memory. All of a sudden, I must have seen something bad, something so shocking that my fight or flight instinct kicked in, so horrible that my mind locked the memory of it away. Whatever it was, I swore I'd never do it again. I tried it, it fucked me up, and I was ready just to move on from there. Find something else, something safer. Maybe spend a night in a haunted house or something. Get my adrenaline rush from somewhere else than the depths of my own twisted subconscious. I went to work the next day feeling like shit. I guess we all feel that way about our jobs to some extent. But this was something else, something deep. Hidden anxiety, a veiled sensation of dread or something. But after a couple of calls from some really obnoxious clients, it all sort of faded away, replaced instead by a sweet and familiar discontempt for humankind as a whole. At lunch, I sat down with Brandon and Joy, the office couple. They were decent people, I guess, a bit too cheery for my taste, but I didn't really mind. After a dozen or so less than satisfied conversations with unbelievable toxic clients, I could even use some cheery. "Are you okay, Ken?" Joy asked cheerily. "You look a little worse for the wear." "He does, doesn't he?" Brandon chimed in. "Rough night, buddy?" I feigned a smile and nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." I lied. "Just Mondays." I don't exactly know what happened next. I vaguely remember Brandon and Joy talking about curtains, shoes, shelves, something boring. I guess I must have zoned out at some point, because the next thing I remember is my half-full glass of milk shattering on the floor. I instantly snapped out of my trance and started apologizing profusely, awkwardly bending down to collect the shards. "I'm sorry, I can be so clumsy," I think I muttered as I sat back up, placing the remnants of the broken glass on the empty plate. Brandon and Joy didn't say anything. They were sitting perfectly still, eerily still, staring at me in wide-eyed shock, or fear, or both. Jesus Christ, Ken," Joy stammered incoherently. Don't move. Brandon, "We need to get you to the hospital," Brandon yelled, "right now." I was confused, my gaze darting back and forth between the two of them. They looked genuinely upset, even scared, and I couldn't for the life of me understand why. "What's wrong?" I asked, blood now pouring out of my mouth. I can't say how I didn't notice before, but at the moment, I became painfully aware. I could feel the razor-sharp shard with the tip of my tongue. A long, thin piece of glass sticking through my right cheek. I gently pulled at it, resulting in the jagged edges slowly cutting through even more of my flesh. "It's not so bad," I mumbled. "Just a flesh wound." Brandon and Joy freaked out, throwing chairs aside and yelling hysterically at each other. Brandon ran back and forth, like he didn't quite know what he was doing. "Get the car." Joy just kept shouting at him. She was awkwardly trying to lift me up, tugging violently at my shirt. It was white when I sat down, I remember thinking. Now it was a deep shade of red. At some point, I just stood up and started walking, a frantic Joy at my side, trying her very best to steer me in the direction of the car. I tried to calm her down, smiling reassuringly when she asked me if I was okay, but it didn't really seem to help. The drive to the hospital was quiet and peaceful. Brandon and Joy were probably scared senseless, and I just found myself thinking about what had happened. There was no way it was an accident. Like, how? Did I bend down and scrape my face against the floor? No, there was only one explanation that made any sense. I must have stabbed myself, but I couldn't remember doing it. Couldn't remember anything. Whatever really happened, Brandon and Joy and the doctors treated it like some freak accident. They didn't ask me questions, just did their best to comfort me and patch me up. There were a lot of stitches. Can't remember how many. There'd be a scar, though, they told me. Couldn't be helped apparently. They kept me in the hospital overnight. I guess they wanted to keep an eye on me or something. Brandon and Joy assured me they'd pick me up first thing in the morning. I'd be fine, they said. I just shrugged and smiled. I would have thanked them, but I had a hard time moving my mouth. I slept fairly undisturbed. There were some weird dreams, but nothing too extreme, and I woke up in a rather dazed state, staring at a bowl of cereal neatly placed on a tray next to my bed. I was quite famished, so I immediately emptied it, munching happily on the squishy contents of it. Squishy. Sure, in retrospect, it didn't sound right at all. It didn't taste right either. That's the weirdest part, I think. I mean, I was munching away happily, all the while thinking this shit tastes horrible. And the texture of it, I don't know. It was like chewing on a leathery egg filled with vile, rotting liquid. But I didn't stop. Not until the nurse came in, dropping her tray and started screaming bloody murder. I instinctively spat it out. It sort of rolled unsteadily on the floor for a while, before settling by the feet of the hysterical nurse. A half-chewed human eyeball. My half-chewed eyeball. I don't know if I recognized it, or if it was the pain, or the fact that I was half blind that tipped me off. But as soon as the realization hit me, I completely lost it, and all these strange, erratic thoughts started going through my head. How did it happen? Why did I eat my own eyeball? What did it taste like? Was it as bad as pineapple on pizza? Would I eat it again, given the opportunity? The nurse wouldn't stop screaming. I couldn't stop screaming. I stumbled down from my bed, backing away from the nurse and the eyeball rapidly. It was staring right at me, judging me, loathing me, hating me. It was the last thing I saw before I lost balance and tumbled clumsily out the window. My memory is a bit hazy, I'll admit, but I remember the ground coming closer and closer, and the all-consuming feeling of, this is it. This is where I die, half naked in the hospital parking lot, missing my right eyeball. What would my epitaph say? He seemed perfectly normal until he dug out his eyeball and ate it. I lost consciousness when my head struck a fence about halfway down. That's what saved me. Apparently it broke the fall. Only messed me up. Didn't kill me. I suppose I should be thankful. All in all, I was lucky. Just a dislocated jaw, a broken arm, a light concussion, and some missing teeth. 16 missing teeth, all on the right side. I was a mess, a fucking monster. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. Couldn't stand the thought of it. I could see it in their eyes, the loathing, the disgust, the repulsion. But I knew I had to do it eventually, so I did. All you need is a mirror, a chair, and a dim lamp. Just sit down and stare at your reflected face. After a minute or so, you'll start seeing it. See the illusion. Unless it isn't an illusion, then you'll just see the truth. I erupted in what I can only describe as a maniacal laughter, my disfigured, monstrous visage twisting horribly in masochistic insanity. As the reflection slowly started changing, I kept laughing, couldn't stop laughing. The pain was unbearable. My stitches tore, blood pouring into my horribly damaged mouth. Long after, my reflection changed to a terrified, wide-eyed, shocked version of my once handsome self. I kept laughing. Only after he disappeared, taking the mirror with him, could I finally stop.